Welcome to Words to Live By, a podcast series hosted by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. Each week, we will share some of the wit and wisdom of Ronald Reagan. In essence, Words to Live By, made up of radio addresses and speeches he delivered from the 1960s through the 1980s. From the end of July through August 11th, the world has been and will continue to be focused on the City of Light, Paris, as that beautiful historic city hosts the 33rd Olympiad. Do you know why Paris was called the City of Light? Well, at the beginning of the 19th century, Paris became the first city in Europe to use gas lighting to illuminate the streets. And so, as the Summer Olympics light up Paris, we'll make them the focus of our podcast today. Right now, Paris is shining its light on some 10,500 athletes from about 206 countries. And the Paris 2024 Olympics will feature several new sports. You know what they are? Breaking. Yeah, that's the shortened term for what we used to call break dancing. Skateboarding. Sport climbing. 3x3 basketball. And surfing. Yeah, and on the surfing note, maybe you don't know that surfing made its Olympic debut in Tokyo, but it won't be held this year in Paris. It will be held over 9,000 miles from the French capital in Teapo, located on the island of Tahiti in French Polynesia. And that island is known for its beautiful but heavy and challenging waves. So, back in 1984, were new sports added to the Olympics? Yes, 3. Synchronized swimming, windsurfing, and rhythmic gymnastics debuted in Los Angeles as Olympic events. At the time, 6,800 athletes competed from 140 countries. It was a record for the Games. Perhaps you recall the boycott of the 1984 Summer Olympics. It occurred 4 years after the American-led boycott of the 1980 Summer Olympics in Moscow. In 1984, the boycott involved 14 Eastern Bloc satellite states and allies, led by none other than the Soviet Union, who initiated the boycott on May 8, 1984. Boycotting countries organized actually another major event. It was called the Friendship Games, and they were held in July and August also of 1984. Anyway, in August of 1984, after the Games concluded in Los Angeles, the president flew to LA to meet with the medalists at the Century Plaza Hotel, and he was introduced by William Simon, who at the time was president of the U.S. Olympic Committee. Let's listen.
Well, thank you, Bill Simon, and thank you all very much. As the newest member of the team, I'm trying to figure out how I qualify. In high school, there was the 880 relay. We only finished second in the state finals in that. And then there was swimming. But in my day, we didn't do a flip turn, so I'd have to learn that if I'm going to qualify in that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen of America's team at the 23rd Olympiad, and Bill Simon has said it all, you did us proud. You're heroes. Every one of you, living proof of what happens when America sets its sights high and says, let's create a little excellence. And you gave us moments that we'll never forget. There was Blatnick dropping to his knees in thanks, and Mary Lou Retton getting that perfect 10. There was Steinsiefer and Hogshead hitting the wall at the exact same 100th of a second. And Carl Lewis smiling when he tied Jesse Owens' record. There was something very special about the Olympics. There was a special spirit to it. You gave us all such a lift. You gave us something to be unified around and cheer for together. And I think maybe you possibly heard down on the field that cheer when something like USA, USA. Well, it doesn't matter whether you won the gold or the silver or the bronze. The cheer was for you and for all of you. The specialness of this Olympics was apparent from the beginning. You walked into the opening ceremonies with a special kind of pride, a vibrant and a very human delight that was transmitted to the crowds and that was picked up by the people who were watching on TV. Throughout the games, I couldn't help but think that if the people of the world judged Americans by what they saw of you, then they think Americans, well, they're generous and full of serious effort. They're full of high spirits. They're motivated by all the best things. They're truly a nation of champions. And I want to take a moment here to single out and say thank you to the uncelebrated story in the people. Your coaches and trainers, your parents and friends, all the quiet people who stood behind you when the shot rang out and the race began. And yes, those you may have defeated, but whose own efforts helped push you to do your best. Every hero knows that no hero does it alone. The people who stood behind you deserve our thanks. And the way I see it, there ought to be an Olympic event in moral support, and they'd get a perfect 10. I want to say, too, that the city of Los Angeles did a marvelous job, and a lot of terrific people in this town. Just about everyone in this city had to put him or herself out some way, one way or another, while the games were on. They not only did it, they did it with a smile. They won the admiration and the thanks of the entire country.
More about corporate sponsorship and some of the president's favorite moments right after this brief message.
The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation is the nonprofit organization created by President Reagan himself, and specifically charged by him with continuing his legacy and sharing his principles: individual liberty, economic opportunity, global democracy, and national pride. We must remain vigilant and work together to share these conservative principles with younger generations. Your role is critical to move our mission forward. Thank you for your continued support. Please visit reaganfoundation.org/give. That's reaganfoundation.org/give.
Now, back to the Summer Olympics. So there's one thing unique about the 2024 Olympics, and that's that there are as many women competing as men. Paris really deserves credit because, get this, back in 1900, Paris made history by welcoming women to compete at the Olympic Games for the first time. Now, 124 years later, the City of Light is setting another historic milestone by making history by achieving numerical gender parity on the field of play, ensuring equal representation of male and female athletes. So, what kind of financial support is required to put on a massive event like this? Well, you'll see some familiar names in corporate sponsorship this year, like Coca-Cola, Omega, Panasonic. But there are new names like Airbnb, Atos, Alibaba. Collectively, the support of these many corporate sponsors represents about $1.3 billion. Back in 1984, corporate sponsorships represented about $93 million. Well, we know it's not a cheap date. And what's significant, though, about the 1984 Olympics is that it actually produced a profit of $22 million. So, after expenses, that money has continued to fund our Olympic athletes for many years. With that financial wind at their backs in 1984, let's continue listening to our 40th president.
This is a good time also to thank the generous corporations that decided a few years back to contribute money and personnel and time to help our athletes. They prove that the profits reaped from a free economy can be used to help our young people compete on an even footing with the state-subsidized athletes of other countries. Those corporations did us proud, and so did Bill Simon, who led this great citizens' effort. So did the Los Angeles Olympic Organizing Committee and the U.S. Olympic Committee. The 23rd Olympiad of the modern era is over, but it will never be forgotten. It was attended by more countries than ever before. There was more competition than ever before. There was more brilliant talent than ever before. And as you know, a lot of records were broken. The games were a triumph of friendly and generous competition, a triumph of fellowship, and a triumph of the spirit. And it turned out that nothing could mar those games, nothing could detract. The only losers of the 23rd Olympiad were those who didn't or couldn't come. As for those who did, what greatness you all showed us. I know you're impressed by the athletes the other countries sent, the South Korean boxers, the Chinese gymnasts, the Romanian athletes, the Jamaicans, the Japanese. For a lot of us, one of the really indelible images of the Games was of Gabriela Anderson-Scheiss of Switzerland, walking dazed and dehydrated to the finish line, refusing to give up, pushing on even when all her strength was gone, summoning up just that last bit of reserve and crossing that line. She truly was heroic. And I have just a final point here. One of the things I noted and liked so much as I watched the games on TV was that often in many of the events, you could sort out or figure out who represented what country, except with the American athletes. With the American athletes, we almost always had to see the USA on your uniforms, because our team came in all shapes and sizes, all colors and nationalities and races and ethnic groups. And I was thinking, you can talk on and read forever books about the melting pot, but the past 2 weeks, there it was, winning medals for us, representing us every day. 140 countries represented here, in the only place in the world where those who were competing for this nation had the bloodlines and the background of more than those 140 countries. And so I say to you, the great melting pot team of 1984, the members of America's team at the 23rd Olympics, thanks for the memories, and thanks for the great moments, and thanks for being what you are, genuine heroes. And you know what? 1984 is a kind of special significance for me. It's I'm finding it to be a very interesting year. But after what I saw of you and what you did at these Olympics, I can't wait till '88. Just can't wait. Thank you all very much, and God bless you. And now, you remember that right before the games, you gave me a gift of all your Olympic team pins. And today I want to return the favor. I have a gift for the future U.S. Olympics Hall of Fame. It is the American Eagle and is given to honor the members of America's team at the '84 Games because you soared to greatness.
Thank you for listening. For more information on the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute, including information on how to become a member, information on upcoming exhibits at the Reagan Library, and more information on the legacy of President Reagan, please visit reaganfoundation.org. And don't forget to like and follow the Reagan Foundation on all social media platforms.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Words to Live By podcast in your iTunes or Google Play stores and on other podcast platforms as they become available. New episodes of Words to Live By come out every Tuesday. Like what you hear? Check out our A Reagan Forum podcast featuring great speeches delivered at the Reagan Library. New episodes drop every Thursday. And don't forget to follow @Ronald Reagan on Facebook, @Ronald Reagan 40 on Twitter, and Reagan Foundation on YouTube. Also, search for us on SoundCloud and Stitcher.